house. They already knew my name. They knew my daughter's medical condition. They knew exactly where we would run. And somehow, they knew something about my house that even I didn't know. At first, I thought they wanted money.
Have one shot at this.
Then I thought they wanted
the back
us.
Door is the weakest point. The back door is the weakest
I was wrong.
point. This is where we will cut the power.
What they were really after had been hidden inside that house long before we moved in. And by the time I discovered the truth, there was no way out. Everything you've heard so far is true. The story you're about to hear is exactly as Laura told it to me, in her own words. My name is Laura Bennett, and 3 years ago, my daughter Mia and I survived a night that should have ended very differently. The police report says it was a failed burglary. That's technically true. But it leaves out the part where the men breaking into our house knew things they shouldn't have known. Things that were impossible. And by the time I realized that, it was already too late. The house sat alone at the top of Willow Ridge, about 30 minutes outside Denver. It wasn't huge, just a modern 2-story home surrounded by pine trees. After my divorce, I bought it because it felt safe. Quiet neighborhood, low crime rate, security cameras, reinforced doors, everything a single mother worries about, especially when her daughter is the most important person in her life. Mia was 13, smart, funny, and far better at technology than I was. She spent her first week in the house connecting smart lights, setting up speakers, and teaching me how to use half the devices we'd purchased. For a while, life felt normal again. The safe room was one of the house's selling points. It wasn't hidden behind a bookshelf like in movies. It was built into the basement. Steel walls, independent air supply, emergency food, satellite phone, enough supplies for 3 days. The previous owner had spent a fortune building it. At the time, I thought it was excessive, a luxury feature meant to impress buyers. I never imagined we'd actually use it. The first strange thing happened on a Thursday evening. I came home from work and found the front gate open, not unlocked, open, swinging in the wind. I clearly remembered closing it that morning. I checked the security footage. Nothing. The camera covering the driveway had gone offline for exactly 11 minutes, then came back. No explanation, no recording, just a gap. The security company blamed a signal interruption. I accepted that answer. I wish I hadn't. 3 days later, Mia noticed someone watching the house. At least that's what she thought. We were eating dinner when she looked toward the kitchen window. "Mom." "What?" "I think somebody's outside." I stood up immediately. The backyard was empty. Trees moved gently in the evening breeze. Nothing else. "No one's there." She looked uncertain. "Maybe." I should have listened more carefully, because Mia wasn't usually wrong. A week passed. Then another. Life returned to normal. Until the night everything happened. It was a Saturday. Rain hammered the roof. The weather forecast predicted severe thunderstorms until morning. By 10 p.m., most of the neighborhood had already gone dark. People staying indoors. Roads nearly empty. The kind of night where nobody notices unusual sounds. The kind of night criminals love. At 10:47 p.m., the power went out. The entire house became dark. I wasn't worried. Storms caused outages all the time. I lit a candle. Mia complained about losing internet. Normal things. Then my phone buzzed. A security notification. Front gate opened. I frowned. The gate was electric. Without power, it shouldn't be moving at all. I opened the security app. The camera feed loaded. For a second, everything looked normal. Then I saw someone standing beside the gate, motionless, watching the house. The image was grainy because of the rain. I couldn't see a face, only a dark figure. Then the feed cut out. I called the police non-emergency line. The dispatcher promised to send a patrol car. Estimated arrival, 30 minutes. The storm had slowed everything down. 20 minutes later, nobody had arrived. The cameras remained offline. The rain intensified. And then Mia spoke from the living room. Her voice sounded different, scared. "Mom?" I turned around. "What is it?" She pointed toward the front window. At first I saw nothing. Then lightning illuminated the driveway. 3 men stood there, not hiding, not sneaking, standing openly in the rain, looking directly at the house. My stomach dropped. One of them lifted a hand and waved, not friendly, not threatening, just calm, like he already knew something I didn't. Then all 3 started walking toward the front door, slowly, deliberately, without hesitation. I locked the deadbolt, then the second lock, then the security bar. My hands were shaking. Mia stood beside me. "What do we do?" I looked toward the basement, toward the safe room, and for the first time since buying the house, I understood why someone would spend thousands of dollars building one. The first impact hit the front door. The entire house shook. A second impact followed louder, wood cracking, metal groaning. The men weren't trying to hide anymore. They were coming inside, and they weren't worried about being quiet, because they knew nobody would arrive in time to stop them. I grabbed Mia's hand. "Run!" We sprinted toward the basement stairs. Behind us came another crash, then another, the sound of a front door beginning to fail. And as we reached the safe room, I heard something that made my blood run cold, a man's voice from upstairs, calm, confident, almost amused. He wasn't shouting, he wasn't angry. He simply said, "Go ahead, Laura. Lock yourself inside. That's exactly where we need you." The safe room door sealed shut. The steel bolts locked automatically. For the first time since the men entered the house, I felt slightly safer. Only slightly. Mia sat on the lower bunk, hugging her knees. Her face was pale. "Are they gone?" I looked at the security monitor. No. The 3 men were standing in the basement, directly outside the panic room, waiting. The leader stepped forward, tall, calm, the kind of man who didn't seem nervous under pressure. He examined the steel door. Then he smiled. Not because he was happy, because he'd expected it. "We have a problem," the younger robber said. The monitor didn't have perfect audio, but I could hear enough. "The room is sealed." The leader nodded. "I know. What now?" "We get them out." Mia looked at me. They knew about the room. Apparently. They wanted us in here. I didn't answer, because she was right. Everything suddenly made sense. The timing, the confidence, the fact they never searched the house. They had come for one thing, and somehow that thing was connected to the panic room. A loud metallic bang shook the door. Mia jumped. One of the robbers had struck it with a crowbar. The steel didn't move, not even slightly. Another hit. Nothing. The leader stopped him. "No." "What?" "You're wasting time." The younger man lowered the crowbar. The leader crouched near the door, then spoke calmly. "Mrs. Bennett." I froze. Hearing my name from a stranger felt wrong. "We don't want to hurt you." I stayed silent. "We only need what's inside the room." Still silent. "Give it to us and we'll leave." I looked around. The safe room contained food, water, medical supplies, and emergency equipment. Nothing valuable, at least nothing I knew about. The leader continued. "The previous owner left something behind." Mia looked at me. I looked back. Neither of us had any idea what he was talking about. Minutes passed, then an hour. The robbers searched the rest of the house. The security monitor showed them opening drawers, checking closets, examining documents. Yet they always returned to the basement, always returned to us. Around 2 a.m., a new problem appeared, a much worse one. Mia reached into her backpack, then froze. Her expression changed immediately. "Mom." "What?" "My inhaler." My heart dropped. "What about it?" "I left it upstairs." For a second, I couldn't speak. Mia's asthma wasn't severe, but during stressful situations, it could become dangerous, very dangerous. And now her medication was sitting somewhere in the house, outside the safe room, with the robbers. I looked at the emergency supplies. No inhaler, no replacement medication, nothing. For the first time that night, fear outweighed caution. Hours passed. The robbers kept trying. Threats, promises, negotiation. Nothing worked. Then something unexpected happened. The youngest robber approached the camera in the basement. The nervous one. The one who looked uncomfortable from the beginning. He waited until the others were gone. Then he leaned toward the door. "Listen," he whispered. His voice barely reached the monitor. "They aren't going to leave." Mia and I exchanged glances. The young robber looked over his shoulder, making sure nobody was watching. Then he said something that changed everything. "The thing they're looking for." He swallowed hard. "It's worth millions." Millions. Before he could continue, another voice shouted from upstairs. The young robber immediately stepped away. The leader appeared seconds later, suspicious, watching him carefully. Something was wrong inside their group. Very wrong. The leader turned toward the panic room door, then spoke calmly. "You have until sunrise." Silence. Then he added, "After that, we're opening the room ourselves." And judging by the confidence in his voice, he already knew exactly how to do it. Sunrise was still hours away. The storm outside hadn't stopped. Rain continued to pound against the house, while Mia and I sat inside the panic room, watching the security monitor. Neither of us had slept. Neither of us could. Every sound from outside the door made my heart race. The leader's warning kept repeating in my head. "After sunrise, we're opening the room ourselves." At first, I thought it was a bluff. Then I saw what they brought into the basement, and I realized it wasn't. The monitor showed the three men carrying equipment downstairs. Not weapons. Tools. Heavy-duty tools. A portable battery pack. Metal cases. A cutting torch. Drills. Equipment that looked expensive and professional. These weren't ordinary burglars. They had planned this. The younger robber looked uneasy. He kept arguing with the leader. I couldn't hear every word, but I caught enough. This wasn't the deal. "We take the money and leave. We don't hurt anybody." The leader's face hardened. He stepped closer. The younger robber immediately fell silent. Mia noticed it too. "He doesn't want to be here." "No," I said. A few minutes later, sparks exploded across the monitor. The men had started cutting through the outer locking mechanism. The safe room door was strong, very strong, but nothing is indestructible. Given enough time, they could get through. Mia looked at me. "What do we do?" I didn't have an answer. For the first time all night, the safe room no longer felt safe. It felt temporary. Then another problem appeared. The room's air system suddenly beeped. Once, then again. A warning light flashed red. I rushed to the control panel. The ventilation system was still running, but the external intake had been blocked. Someone outside had found it. The robbers weren't trying to force us out anymore. They were trying to make staying inside impossible. Mia's breathing became faster. Not a full asthma attack. Not yet. But stress wasn't helping. I knew we couldn't remain trapped forever. Eventually, we'd have to leave. And the robbers knew it too. Hours passed. The cutting continued, slowly, patiently, methodically. Then something unexpected happened. The youngest robber appeared alone in front of the camera again. He looked terrified, more terrified than I'd seen him all night. He glanced behind him, then quickly held up a piece of paper. "They will kill us all if they find it." Before I could fully read it, he lowered the note. The leader's voice echoed from upstairs. The young robber disappeared. Mia stared at the monitor. What does that mean? I shook my head. I don't know. But I was beginning to suspect something. The previous owner, the safe room, the millions of dollars, the way these men had planned everything, whatever they were searching for. It wasn't supposed to be here anymore. Then, while checking the room again, I noticed something strange. A loose floor panel beneath one of the emergency storage shelves. I'd never seen it before. I knelt down and pulled at the edge. It moved slightly, just enough. Beneath it was a waterproof package wrapped in thick plastic. Old, dusty, hidden deliberately. My pulse skyrocketed. This was it, the thing they had come for. I carefully opened the package. Inside were documents, a flash drive, and several photographs. The photographs showed stacks of cash, private meetings, and a man I immediately recognized, the previous owner of the house. But he wasn't alone. Standing beside him was someone else, someone far more important, someone whose face had appeared on local news dozens of times, a powerful businessman, one of the wealthiest men in Colorado. My stomach dropped. Whatever this was, it was bigger than a burglary, much bigger. The flash drive probably contained evidence worth millions, evidence people were willing to kill for. Suddenly everything made sense. The house, the panic room, the determination of the intruders. They weren't stealing money. They were trying to recover evidence. Then a deafening metallic crack echoed through the room. I looked up. The panic room door had shifted, only slightly, but enough. The robbers had finally breached the first layer. Another crack followed, louder this time. Mia grabbed my arm. Fear filled her eyes. Mom. I looked toward the damaged steel door, then toward the flash drive in my hand, because I finally understood something. The men outside weren't leaving without it, and if they got inside before sunrise, Mia and I might never leave the house alive. The steel door groaned. Another loud crack echoed through the safe room. The robbers were getting closer. Too close. Mia gripped my arm so tightly it hurt. Mom? I looked at the damaged door, then at the flash drive in my hand. Everything had led to this moment. The hidden evidence, the previous owner, the men outside, the millions of dollars. Whatever was on this drive was important enough for people to risk prison, or worse. And now those people were almost inside. A sudden shout came from outside. The robbers were arguing again, louder this time, more aggressive. I rushed to the security monitor. The young robber was standing face to face with the leader. For the first time all night, he wasn't backing down. He was furious. We should leave. No. The police will come eventually. No. We already have enough evidence they're in there. The leader stepped forward. Cold controlled. Dangerous. We are not leaving without that drive. My blood ran cold. They knew exactly what was hidden. The young robber shook his head. This wasn't supposed to happen. The leader's expression hardened. This is happening. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then the young robber walked away. I had a feeling, a strange feeling, that he had finally made a decision. 5 minutes later, the monitor went black. Every camera. Gone. The robbers had cut the security system. Now we were blind. The safe room became silent. Too silent. Then came 3 soft knocks. Knock. 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 Not aggressive. Not threatening. Almost careful. I approached the door cautiously. A whisper came through the gap. It's me. The young robber. I didn't answer. You don't know me, he whispered. But if you stay in there, you're dead. Mia looked terrified. I lowered my voice. What do you want? The leader has explosives. My heart nearly stopped. He was lying about opening the room. The young robber swallowed. He's going to blow the hinges." I believed him instantly. The leader had never cared about subtlety. "Why are you helping us?" I asked. A long pause followed. "Because I didn't know what this job really was." For the first time, his voice sounded honest. "They told me it was a recovery mission." Another pause. "They never mentioned murder." Silence filled the room. Then he said something unexpected. "There's another exit." I froze. "What?" "The builder added a maintenance tunnel behind the air filtration system." I remembered seeing ventilation equipment earlier. I had assumed it was permanent. "Where does it go?" "Outside." My pulse exploded. A chance. A real chance. The young robber quickly explained how to access it. Then footsteps echoed from upstairs. Someone was coming. "You need to move now." And then he was gone. I immediately found the ventilation panel. After removing several screws, a narrow tunnel appeared, just large enough for one person at a time. Mia stared at it. "You first." "No." "Mom, you first." She nodded, then crawled inside. I followed moments later. The tunnel was dark, tight, claustrophobic. Behind us came another massive crash. The safe room door was finally giving way. We moved faster. The tunnel seemed endless. Every second felt like a minute. Then suddenly, fresh air. Mia emerged first. I climbed out behind her. We were outside, near the edge of the property, hidden by trees. For the first time all night, we were free. Then a gunshot shattered the silence. We both jumped. The sound had come from the house. I turned back, just in time to see flashing red and blue lights approaching through the storm. Police. Dozens of them. Someone had finally called for help. Officers surrounded the property. Commands echoed through loudspeakers. Within minutes, the house was flooded with police. The standoff ended quickly. The robbers hadn't expected law enforcement to arrive in force. 2 surrendered. 1 tried to run. He didn't get far. The leader was arrested in the basement, still searching for the drive, still refusing to give up. As for the young robber, he was found sitting on the front porch, waiting peacefully. He never resisted. Weeks later, investigators finally examined the flash drive. The contents shocked everyone. It contained years of financial records, evidence of fraud, bribery, money laundering, and several powerful people connected to it. The previous owner hadn't hidden money inside the panic room. He had hidden proof that could destroy careers and make certain people very desperate. The arrests that followed made national news. Several executives went to prison. Millions of dollars were seized, and the entire criminal operation collapsed. A year later, Mia and I moved away. Neither of us wanted to stay in that house. Too many memories, too many nightmares. Before leaving, I visited the property one final time. The safe door had been removed. The room was empty, quiet, harmless. Yet standing there, I realized something. The safe room had done exactly what it was designed to do. It kept us alive long enough to find a way out. Today, people still ask me whether I'd ever own a house with a panic room again. My answer is always the same. Only if I know what's hidden inside it first. Before the police took him away, I told them everything. I told them how the youngest robber had warned us, how he risked his own life to help us escape, how Mia and I would probably be dead if he hadn't made that choice. The investigators verified my story through security footage and phone records. Because of his cooperation, he received a much lighter sentence than the others. A few years later, I received a letter from him. It was only 1 sentence long. "Thank you for telling the truth when nobody else would." I never saw him again. But whenever people ask how Mia and I survived that night, I always tell them the same thing. Not everyone who enters your life as a villain stays one. Sometimes the person who saves you is the one you least expect.